Double up.
Before we do table topics, I wanted to address the word of the day, gladiator. We think of gladiators as big, burly kinds of guys, and we think of vegans as kind of scrawny, wimp, effeminate, emaciated sort of people. The word gladiator, from what I understand, and this is only secondhand, comes from a word in Latin which means grain eater. They were primarily vegan. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. I thought that was very interesting. Table topics. I had a discussion with a friend of mine Tuesday night, and he talked about the legacy that his mother had left him. And she didn't leave him $1 million, although I'm sure that would have been a nice thing. What he said that she left him was the ability to be direct, the ability to speak his mind, but more particularly the ability to live from principle. And I thought that was a wonderful thing to inherit. I'm sure a legacy, emotional legacy from parents is not just a one-sided deal. It's a mixture of wounds and a mixture of good stuff. But I would like to hear from somebody, what is a legacy that one of your parents has left you? Beth.
Well, I won't talk about my father because he's my hero, so I only have good things to say. But my mother, on the other hand, I was the difficult, rebellious child, and so adolescence was full of strife, and I didn't back down that easily. So adolescence lasted a very, very long time. She's now 87, and we have a very good relationship because she's mellowed quite a bit, and I've become a little less susceptible to feeling sensitive to whatever she has to say. And in this late chapter of her life, she has taught me an amazing, amazing lesson that I know I'll take with me, I hope for at least as long as she has lived. At 78 years old, my father retired. They moved to Palm Beach for half the year. My mother went back, and I don't know if I've told you this before, and started painting again. She's a very talented artist, but never really respected that talent in herself because she wasn't a lawyer, she wasn't a doctor, she just was an artist, and she just didn't have respect for that. She later came to appreciate it, and at 78, down in Palm Beach, where they couldn't afford to play with the Madoff crowd, not that they're bad off in Palm Beach, they're quite comfortable, but then there's another level, she decided to go back to the studio. And as soon as she started painting, the genius just came out. And she's been curated by several museums. Shows have shown her art. She's now selling it. It's amazing, really quality, beautiful work. And so the legacy of that is that it's never too late to be who you really are. And all those things you wanted to do that you might have suppressed throughout your life because you had to do other things, if you live long enough and if you let yourself, they come out again. And so you can start doing whatever it is you've always wanted to do. And it's 80 years old, 90 years old, it doesn't matter. That's why I'm very patient.
Thank you, Beth. That was terrific. What's wrong with starting right now?
It could. Now is the time.
I've had Peter Colgan sent a thing on Facebook today. I don't know how many people saw that. It was about a Ku Klux Klan guy who became friends with a Muslim. The KKK guy's thinking had totally changed on the subject, and they actually became friends. And I look at my life, and there have been a number of things that I've totally changed my mind on from point A to point B. And I don't think there are any present or past members of the KKK here, at least I hope not. But I'm no. Do you know something we didn't stand? It's the tattoo on top I'm wondering about. It is. But who here has had a change in thinking from one side of a point of view to the diametric opposite side of a point of view. Brendan, do you have something to say?
Okay, I'll try that.
Do you have something that your point of view has changed 100% on, 180 degrees, from point A to point B? And if so, what was it?
Well, I'm going to use an easy example. It's not necessarily something that's new, but it was something that from when I was entering my teenage years, becoming an adult, and then coming out adult the other end, is when before I entered high school, I was not very physically active, I did soccer because it was about the easiest thing you could do without thinking too much, but you still get the exercise. But then, when I was in school, I discovered running, and my mentality changed about physical exercise in school. The point where I still remember, I'm the kid. The year before, I was just sitting at a desk in every classroom, and I don't want to stare out the window at the soccer field. They don't exist. So like sports don't exist to me. And then with the running and having to purchase proper running shoes because that was always encouraged, and proper clothing for sport and all the different things they teach you in sport to perform properly. And plus the coaching. So the coaching, I would say, is something that's stuck with me for a long time. And every day, if I'm wondering, what to do with sport? Is that what your coach would tell you? No, he would tell you get out there and try. So I have my coach's mentality in my head to do sport and be physically active, and that changed my thinking about exercise.
Do we have time for one more?
Sure, you got two more.
Two more, wow.
No, one, I'm sorry.
It's one.
One more, okay. When I lived in California a number of years ago, I knew this guy named Frank. He was a very interesting character because it had this one particular feature that I found quite interesting and quite grating at the same time. He always spoke the truth. He wasn't one to mince words. He wasn't one to hold things back. He would say things directly. It was a little disconcerting, like I say, a little discombobulating and refreshing. Because I know so often when I'm talking, I'm thinking, in the back of my mind, there's this kind of drone note, like on a sitar, which is, what are they going to think of me? What is my impression going to be? This guy bypassed that mechanism. He didn't have it at all. He spoke his mind. Is there anybody in your life, Harvey, who has had an effect on you, not necessarily this one, but who has a feature that both bugs you and that you admire at the same time? If you could speak to that. Or, of course, anything else you want to speak about.
My wife. Lynn grew up with a father who valued honesty. He would speak his mind. He would talk the truth. He had a great deal of integrity. And Lynn inherited that from him. And when I met her, she's very quick to tell me where she thinks I'm going astray, or try to get me to be honest about what I'm thinking. So she's had a tremendous impact on me in terms of being honest, being direct. Now, I've accused her of being undiplomatic. You got to be more diplomatic. And she said, no, I speak my mind. And by the way, when we went to Israel, she felt very comfortable there because the Israelis tend to speak their mind and tell you what they think and also give you some advice about how to conduct your life. So she always felt comfortable in Israel. And I'm trying my best to emulate her in being more direct. Thank you.